Hey, Erica.
Hey, you guys, how are you?
We're good. Great.
First of all, you all have band names. Do I have Chad, Caleb, Spencer, and Joey?
Yep.
That is so awesome. And I have to tell you, I heard your song for the first time when I got back from vacation. And this very rarely happens, but I instantly loved it. I didn't need 30 seconds to get used to it. I was immersed. It's awesome. Congratulations.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Very kind.
You guys are awesome. Okay, I would love to hear the story behind your band name because I read it and I was like, yes, that's the right message.
Totally. This is Caleb. So originally our band was called Yellow Cavalier, which I know is a terrible name, okay? But when we sat down with our label, they were like, listen, we love you guys. We love the music, but the name is terrible. It's got to go. So we sat down in a room for hours and whiteboarded possible names. We loved the idea. Matthew 5 calls us the light of the world, and our music at the time was, very anthemic. It felt kind of big and pop, and we wanted to marry those kind of two ideas, and thus came Anthem Lights out of that.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, this world has never needed light more.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and we know what freedom feels like as an American, right? So we're coming up on the 4th of July here. What would you say freedom from God feels like on the inside?
So this is Spencer here, and Joey and I actually wrote this one together a few summers ago when we finally got around to putting it all together. And I think the song and the message behind it, and it's a happy song. The tone is upbeat, it's positive, but obviously during the verses, we're just kind of talking about the things that we're freeing ourselves from, like anxiety, depression, and just being excited about almost like waking up to the next day of just a bright, happy energy that we know is sourced from God. So just being able to celebrate that and acknowledge that and recognize that in our relationship with Christ and stuff, but also singing about that and putting it into a good energy. And it's not just this sad, depressing song about depressing things. It's the flip on that. It's waking up to a brighter morning, a brighter day.
Well, yeah, here in the Pacific Northwest, it is finally summer. And so there's this feeling of you're in the car, your windows are down because we don't really need air conditioning, but for a few days in the summer. And It's like you just have this wonderful feeling inside and out. And I want to thank you guys for creating that.
No, that's so sweet to say.
Sure. All right, I want to talk about peace because that's my favorite part of this song. I mean, what a great lyric. I used to think that it was a dream always at the edge of my reach. So let me ask you this. How do you feel, or actually the question really is, how do you receive that kind of peace into your daily life when, let's face it, guys, life is crazy?
Life is crazy indeed.
This is Joey talking.
This is Joey,
Joey,
who also thinks that life is crazy. Thank you for commenting on that lyric. And I'm a person who deals with a lot of anxiety, and I think right now, everywhere in the world, there's a tremendous amount of anxiety, just life. And so for me, leaning into that peace looks like leaning into my relationship with God, into my relationships with my family and my friends, and just trying to have that quiet, meditative, contemplative prayer and just really center myself. That's what it looks like for me.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. I love that. So we're doing a new thing on the morning show, and it's called Jesus Stories. So if you can imagine, if you could boil your relationship with Jesus down to 60 seconds, your Jesus story, do you think we could go around and just share how you guys became friends with the Lord?
Totally. Yeah. 60 seconds is a tall order. I'll try to condense it, but it's
you
been
guys,
a journey.
This is my life. This is what I have to do every day. You got 60 seconds, baby.
Okay, great. This is Caleb, and I'll start. I grew up in a small Southern Baptist church in South Dakota. My dad was the pastor. I heard him preach 1,500 times, right?
Wow.
And so this idea of God's love was written on my heart from a very young age. With, kind of my raising, there was a lot of rigidity and constriction, in my opinion, at the time, in my idea of God's love. And I had a lot of stipulations and conditions, and I continued to add those things along the way. Truthfully, it took becoming a father. I have 3 kids under 7, and I kind of had an epiphany when I looked in the eyes of my child, and I had this sense that there's nothing that this child could do to change the way that I feel about him. There's nothing he can do to make me love him more. There's nothing he can do to make me love him less. I'm obsessed with him because he's mine.
Wow.
So if it's possible for me, is it possible that there's a God out there that could feel that way about me and you, and so that was kind of a huge step in my relationship with Jesus. And, in terms of the music that's being born out of that, this song is freedom from God through struggle, and being a human being is extremely difficult. And, it's not that God is this thing that is going to rescue us from something, although he can, but it's that he's going to grab us by the hand and walk us through something, and that's the message that we want to articulate in our story, in our band, and in this song specifically.
Wow, that is beautiful. You guys, the bar has been set. That was awesome.
Yeah, this is Spencer here. Joey and I, we're kind of walking through very similar seasons of just a lot of anxiety, a lot of outside voices. Social media can be as damaging as it can be positive at times and stuff, and the doom and gloom that can be appearing on all that, and losing yourself, losing part of your identity, losing a part of your peace and your purpose in this world as you kind of get distracted by everything else. And so to be able to remove that and set that aside as I've, come into my adulthood and really personalize my own relationship with God as I walk through those moments of stress and uncertainty, to be able to just recenter myself, say a prayer, and feel that presence just to calm that moment. And I know that's a lot easier for a lot of people, and it's very difficult for a lot of people because, everybody's relationship with God is different. And so learning what works for you in the language and the verbiage and the things that can kind of really speak to you in life, and just remaining there, reminding yourself that that's what God's put in your life for you. So this song was a great way of kind of sharing a few different perspectives on how to get to that point, and really just making it your own and making that relationship with God something personal to yourself.
Oh, you guys are amazing. I can't wait to hear the next one. This is going really well.
I'll go next. This is Joey. And just, as a disclaimer, I'm not as good of a talker as Spencer or Caleb.
Yeah, they should have started.
You sure can sing, though.
Okay. So anyway, my Jesus story, like a lot of people probably in my situation who were raised in a Christian home, kind of started with fear, which is unfortunate. But I remember being a little kid and telling my mom that I was afraid of hell because I had heard about it at church.
Yeah.
And that was when it all kind of started for me. So my whole life from that point, as my relationship with Jesus has become more of my own and less of what I heard from church or from my parents, it's just been moving away from fear and toward love. I always think about the verse in the Bible where Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, because I take that as, okay, I got to go love my neighbors as much as I love myself. But somebody pointed out the fact that that can mean I need to love myself as much as I'm loving my neighbors and the people around me. So my Jesus story is a story of moving from fear toward love and allowing myself to see Jesus in myself and love myself.
Well, I think you're a really good talker. Wow. If anybody wants a job in radio, I know people. Okay. Is it Chad who's left?
Yes, that's me, unfortunately. This is Chad.
You got this.
So for me, similar to these guys, I grew up in a Christian home. For me, it wasn't a small church. It was a mega church. It was one of those 3,000 people attend kind of thing. And so for me, growing up in this church, it was all about image. Everything was about what we looked like on the outside. And, as I left that and moved on, it definitely became a time in my life, similar to these guys, where I was questioning things and wondering, what is this Jesus thing for me and not what my parents have told me and what I've been raised on? And honestly, I got away from it a little bit, where I kind of just stopped doing that thing. I stopped pursuing it and whatnot. Several years ago, I hit complete rock bottom. I almost lost everything, almost lost my marriage and everything in my life. And that rock bottom really is what brought me completely back. I started pursuing Jesus in a way that I never have before. For me, I see Jesus speak through men, through community that I'm a part of, and everything now is just been completely broken down to what that looks like for me, essentially. And I didn't write this song, but I could have wrote this song if I was a good songwriter. I really did find freedom in God.
Wow. I heard I think it was Tony Evans who said, when you hit rock bottom, you find that Jesus is the rock at the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
That's good.
I want to thank you guys for your honesty. You're amazing. And before I let you go here, I was just wondering, does anybody have a summer camp story that they want to share just for funsies here?
Oh, I got a great one.
Come on.
I got a great one.
Who's this?
My band member, before we even realized
This is Spencer.
Spencer, I'm so excited.
So I was 11, 12 years old. My father was a pastor at a Nazarene church, and so we would go to this Nazarene church camp every summer in Anderson, Indiana, somewhere around that area. And, we would be doing activities. There'd be 12 to 15 kids per counselor that would run a group. So there would be essentially 8 or 9 teams across the campus of all different ages. And one of the nights we were going to sleep, we got abruptly woken up by like sirens and like counselors all coming in and be like, guys, we gotta go find all the counselors. They've like ran away and they've hid, and it's like it's a game. We're all like groggy because we were kind of half asleep. So we're going out there, and for the next like 2 hours, we're walking around this campground trying to figure out where all these counselors are. Well, there was like one counselor left that we actually could not find, and it was starting to become a panic because they were like, wait, no, we really need to find this counselor. And turns out that counselor got stuck up in a tree because they had climbed a tree to hide, and they climbed too far. So they're stuck way up in this tree. We call the fire department. We call everybody, and they're coming to like get her down. And it was just this dramatic end to the night. We all went to bed. I think they changed the rules going forward because of that experience. So I joined Anthem Lights in 2016, and Caleb's beautiful wife, Kelsey, and I got talking about our history and our past and where we are from and where we grew up going to church and camp. And it turns out she was the counselor at that camp that got stuck in the tree.
How did I not know this?
Y'all didn't know this story?
Okay.
We ended up going to the same church camp, and we didn't even know each other. I never met her, and we put all the dots together later on.
Okay, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. It's like you guys were meant to be together. Oh my goodness. You guys are rock stars in every sense of the phrase. Chad, Caleb, Spencer, Joey from Anthem Lights. I hope you'll come back on and be regulars.
It would be
great.
God bless you guys. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, you as well.
Have a great weekend.
You too.